Coming up in today's show.
These little saws, these 200s, the climbing saws, are dangerous even to professionals.
I don't think they're too easy to buy unless you have.
Chainsaw has certain safety aspects, like your brake. In between the cutting teeth are called the rakers. They're actually to stop the kickback. See, if you introduce any saw face first into timber, it wants to kick back and kill you. Then you've got all the dead wood above your head, what we call widow makers. And just the vibrations of the saw going underneath, like you could get a branch down the head, and they call them a widow maker for a reason. Like they kill people.
I throw
Birthday.
I'm gonna make a wish.
That's it. Wish away.
At the age of 18, I had 3 businesses at the age of 17. I had 4 jobs at the age of 15 in one day.
What about you? Did you ever own a horse more than a fiver?
You did.
You did. Well, there we go.
Not all superheroes wear capes. Some wear wellies.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the James Conway Experience. We've had a late cancellation this evening, but we're just going to wing it and go ahead and have a little bit of a rambling house, and hopefully some interesting characters make their way as the night goes on. Big news on the James Conway Experience this evening. It is Darren's birthday. Happy birthday, Darren.
Thank you very much, James.
You're
I
at
don't
least
celebrate
25.
birthdays. 21. Who would have thought?
Well, we done an interesting fair play to Darren for working on his birthday and all that. He is a glutton for punishment. He loves it. Basically, what we've done is we have a little WhatsApp group going now. If you would like to be a member of the WhatsApp group, go onto our Patreon and drop a message saying, I would like to be part of the WhatsApp group. And I basically asked everyone for kind of farming questions this evening. So Darren is the MC on this. Darren, hit us with a question. Let's see how it
I'm
goes.
actually literally just flicking through this now just to get to the end. There's actually a good few fucking questions. In
That's good.
fairness. Yeah.
We have the answers.
Going live at 7, so fire a quick one. I hope it's recorded. In college, we'll listen back. Could you talk about the safety and sharpening care of chainsawing, if it's a word? And that is from Kalisha.
Kalisha wants to know about chainsaws.
Yeah, fair Foxworth.
I have just the man.
Have you?
Yes. I have a lumberjack here. Mr. Shane!
What is the odds?
I tell you.
By the way, we do now have a bit of an audience while we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
We got a few cheers in the back there, so
Yes.
good stuff.
Well,
If you would like to be part of the audience, drop us a line.
Do, and we have an email address. It's still not on our website, admin@jamesconwayexp.com.
Naughty, Darren.
I know.
Mr.
We better
Shane.
fire that cunt. You know?
No. Listen, we're letting them off the door. Whatever. Shane,
well, James,
you're very welcome.
asking me about safety aspects mightn't be the greatest, knowing that my work style, but we'll go through a few bits to do with
Well, I saw the results, and I have to say, for a few days around here,
My
a lot
God.
done.
And he's cut people out of their houses.
Yes.
You know, and
We won't talk about that. It's not for monetary gain.
Fuck it, Shane. You have a sight of good work done up here. So
But
Yeah,
anyway,
no, fair fucks.
we'll just we'll go through, I suppose, because there's a cost of living crisis, and lots of these big companies are price gougers, and they're just out to rip people off. And we know most people now that might have a little chainsaw in the shed or whatever, and maybe even the lad down the road, they might decide to borrow one. But fallen timber is just as dangerous as a massive tree standing. It's all under tension and compression, and it all wants to kill you at all times.
with fallen timber, Shane, you really need someone that knows what they're at, really, don't you?
You do, really, or even if someone's going to actually be there physically just to talk you through it and tell you how not to get killed yourself, because as we all know, my grandmother was widowed at 41 because granddad was killed by a fallen tree, a big elm tree.
Fuck, I didn't know that, Shane.
Years ago, yeah. Yeah, honestly.
And you still went at the timber work after that.
Yeah,
Fair
I'm
folks.
the only man in the family that loves the chainsaw.
Balls like a Bengali tiger. Shane, as we look at the chainsaw here, it's quite obvious the part that can kill you, do you know? So I presume keeping that away from yourself at all times is a fairly...
Not ever pulling it towards your legs, not ever.
Yes.
Not using it at head height where it can kick back and hit you in the throat, because there's the kill shots either side of the throat. These little ones in particular.
Is that a climbing saw, Shane?
That's a climbing saw. The 200T, probably one of the best climbing saws.
Well, sure,
ever
talk
made.
us through the parts there. And
Anyway,
Yeah.
every chainsaw has certain safety aspects, like your brake. In between the cutting teeth are called the rakers. They're actually to stop the kickback. See, if you introduce any saw face first into timber, it wants to kick back and kill you. It's just the nature of the beast, as you can say, and that's obviously a full professional chain, full chisel. Lots of the saws that you would buy in the likes of, say, any of the shops like Aldi or at, and they have massive rakers, which are nearly the full width between the teeth to stop the whole kickback motion, because that's one of the biggest killers is kickback. And surprisingly enough, these little chainsaws, these little climbing saws, kill more people than big saws, because you're using them in places where it's going to get you there or there. Or
Okay.
So can I just ask a silly question then? Why would some of the saws in Lidl have something that prevents that, but yet the professional one wouldn't?
Well, it still does have the rakers, they're just far smaller, because the professional actually knows how to adjust his rakers properly so the saw is biting properly and cutting properly. And I suppose the biggest part of actually cutting timber is having edge. And edge is what cuts, obviously. And if you have edge, you won't be damaging your guide. The guide is the guide rail, which brings the chain around. And it keeps the two-stroke engine under pressure at all times. So if a two-stroke engine is under pressure, it's not overheating. This is what kills two-stroke engines, is no edge, over-revving, no pressure on the engine, and they just literally shred themselves from the inside. So
is that why you looked so angry at another man the other day when he was revving the shite out of it on the brake on the saw?
well, yeah, that I could see the smoke coming out of the side of my
Yeah.
661. Like, it was like, oh,
Yeah, I
man.
thought I was witness to a murder there. I thought it was going to happen fairly quickly, but
Well, we won't talk about murder on here, James.
No,
We need to keep it PG. Like.
he's still he's a lovely man, though. He's a lovely man. It's just that he managed to pick up chainsaw, started, and then just he revved the living shite out of it.
Or the clutch clean out of it. But anyway,
Yeah.
Or another thing I saw is a guy using a chainsaw as if it was a bread knife.
Oh, sweet
Like
Jesus.
he has
that
to,
means you've no edge, right?
you
So
know,
anyway, we'll get back to the safety aspects. If you look like you're trying to use a bread knife, you clearly shouldn't have the saw in your hand.
Yeah.
But lots of the farming bucks that are used to using it all the time themselves for cutting fencing poles and cutting a bit of timber that they've had on the ground or maybe blew over in a storm, they still don't know how to edge a saw. And I suppose having good files is number one. Having good files, you end up with a C cup coming along rather than an L. If you have a bad file, you'll end up with an L. And an L doesn't actually grab timber. So I suppose like when you first buy a chain, and if you look down the side of it, you can see a good C cup coming along. And I suppose most new chains don't actually have that. Sometimes I'd sharpen a brand new chain out of the box just because I know by the look of it, it's not great. But if you've got a nice C or a D shape, whatever you want to call it, and you're dead straight from line to line on the top, that's all will cut for you. And then if it's not biting nicely, you can take down your rakers a little bit.
And the C pointing forward.
The C pointing forward. Well, if you've been pointing backwards,
Yeah. I've witnessed it.
Yeah,
So I have.
the
and
chain
yeah,
on backwards.
yeah.
That's when you're going to be doing the bread knife action.
That's right.
Anyway, so I suppose what we'll do, James, is someday that I'm up again to give people a hand, we'll do an actual live demonstration about
Brilliant.
how you leave the file do the work and all the rest. And even if there's a tree under tension and compression, we will show people. But I'm not up here for monetary.
I know that. I know. You've
but-
been
But we
brilliant.
will register as a sole trader, so I can work a couple of days a week or something, because my body's no longer able for slogging 6 days a week for other cunts to get rich. But I'm pretty good at what I do, and anyone who ever worked with me knows the crack. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
No, I know it myself. Let's have a look. Fuel. So naturally, 2-stroke means mixed. So what is it? 1 shot of 2-stroke to 5 litres, or that is it?
well, it's 50-to-1 ratio, so you have 100 millilitres of 2-stroke to 5 litres, or 100 mil to 10 litres, etc. Like, but once you have your mix right and your edge right, your saws will basically last forever. Like, this is the basics of chainsaw work. Is when you look after the saw, it won't break, it will look after you as well.
Yeah.
The rest of it then comes down to ignorance, and I can be ignorant as hell. And
If ye have a Lidl or an Aldi saw, have a look at the mix ratio, because some of them are different.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
40 to 1, and it'll actually tell you on the cap. So
Yeah.
the basics of it are.
And if you're unsure, always go 40 rather than 50.
Always
Let the
refer
road-
to your,
to-
always refer to your, what is it?
Yeah,
Owner's
your
manual.
Owner's manual. But petrol and oil generally goes in the, or mixed petrol generally goes in the back, and your chain oil generally goes on the front.
Yeah.
And even if you've got an electric saw, which a lot of them are selling now as well, you still need your chain oil. You still need to lubricate your bar. And if you look after your saw and clean it down properly and clean your guides properly, someday we will do an actual video guide so you know all about it. But the main thing I will say, like, after big storms and crises like this, and the fact that we're living in a cost of living crisis, and these big companies are actually charging far too much for most people to afford them to tidy up their houses. If you are deciding to go at timber yourself, tension and compression is what kills anyone, even when the tree is on the ground. And as well as that, big trees have a tendency to roll.
Yes.
Even if you do cut the right limb in the right way, it might whip over on top of you and get you as well, because that's what got me in Rockwell in 2021 or 22.
Have you had accidents at a chain?
Oh, I was drove into the ground like an Acme pole, like a Wile E. Coyote. Well, this is it. It doesn't matter how long you're a professional. Sometimes you don't witness or recognize the danger you're in at the time.
Yeah.
It was a tree on the ground between two islands that gave me a nasty slap. It kept me out of work for 4 or 5 months, and even though then I was in pain, I decided to go back at it anyway, because I'm a glutton for punishment. Like,
Yes,
you
yeah.
know the crack. Like.
Just on the note from safe, you have some safety gear, and of course, always wear all of your PPE. There's no
100%.
excuse. Would you show us some of that, Shane, please, and just tell people what it is? And
I suppose
don't put that saw too far away, because I want you to fire it up.
fire it up.
I do, yeah.
That'll be noisy.
I don't care. It'll be for a clip. I think it'll be very entertaining. So it will.
Right, so the very basics of it, and you can actually buy kits. The very basics. I'm sore as fuck. Sorry now, put one boot up the kit. Chainsaw boots. So lots of people have a habit of putting their foot against timber on the ground.
That's the one.
Lots of people have a bad habit really of putting their foot on a piece of timber on the ground and cutting right beside it. So if you haven't got good chainsaw boots, I know they look a bit tatty, but chainsaw boots will stop you cutting your foot. Nobody likes cut. Generally, I tend not to want to cut any part of my body really, but chainsaw boots, number one essential. Them ones are very, very expensive. Then you've got your pants. Those are fanners. They look a bit dirty now, but boots and pants, because if you've got a saw in your hands, you're never going to cut your hands. I have gloves there as well. Right, I don't wear them, to be honest. I just have them.
Yeah.
But if you're using a chainsaw and you've got both hands on it, you're never going to stick it in your hand. And kickback is the problem. You get it in your neck or your shoulder. Or you should never be pulling a saw towards a limb anyway. That's pretty blatantly obvious. And then helmet with eye and ear protection is the most basic of all. And most farmers don't even wear a helmet. And
Yeah.
that's
And just to explain to people how they actually work, people might be thinking, is there metal going through it and stuff like that?
No,
it's
it's-
not really, is it?
no, it's a Kevlar fiber, and
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting how it works.
in some of my more worn pants now, you would actually see that it's like a white netting inside them. Imagine kind of like a coal bag, but thicker and stronger. And the idea of that then is, if the chain hits it, it winds around the sprocket and stops it. Now, it might stop a small saw like this, but the bigger, more powerful ones, if you're on full throttle, will go straight through. And I suppose professional sawmen know all this stuff, and they're trained it when you do the courses. Like, I have all the courses.
Yeah.
Of courses coming out the wazoo, but boots and chainsaw chaps, you can buy cheaper versions in, say, the likes of any of your still dealerships or Husqvarna dealerships will actually have.
They're worth having, though.
They're
Shane.
worth having for your own legs, for your own safety. It's the little things that will keep you alive if you're not professionally trained and using them your whole entire life, which I was using them from when I was a kid. So I was always taught not to stick the saw on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and that does sound silly knowing Grandad was killed by him, but he didn't have a chainsaw. It was push-pull back then. That's how many years ago it was. Boots, pants, and helmet. Eyes and ears. You only get one set of eyes and ears in your life. So earmuffs and a visor. If you have those three things at the very least, it doesn't matter what kind of chainsaw you have, you're giving yourself a fighting chance, no matter even if something does go wrong. So apart from that, if you're not a professional, if you haven't been taught the professional ways of doing it, you need to get someone who is at it years to come and show you how to deal with tension and compression and trees on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem me ever helping anyone out that way, but the real physical side of things, like lifting blocks up and loading trailers and all, that's well beyond what I'll ever be doing again, because I've so many injuries from accidents I've been in. These little saws, these 200s, the climbing saws, are dangerous even to professionals.
I don't think they're too easy to buy unless you have the.
You may have to
the
have
training.
the you may have to have the training. I know I have a couple of them on the go, but it's a scary business, and the fact that we've got all this ash dieback and
Yeah, tell us a bit about that, because I think that's one of the questions. I was reading through them. That is one of the questions.
Yeah, and a lot of farmers and a lot of people will have a lot of ash on their ground.
Well, what they asked was a government grant for removal of it, or that was there a chance of it? And look at. I'm going to answer that. I don't know. I hope there is. It would be really helpful to have trained people being paid to do it, as opposed to people going out and chancing their arm. Because if a tree is half rotten, it's more dangerous.
Yeah.
So you tell us. Go back to Shane there. Shane will tell us a bit about the ash dieback situation. What's going on?
Well, I think James, the grant, or what's happened is, since it was brought into the country by the government, which is exactly what happened. They've been fighting massively, all these farmers that put in massive ash plantations, and now they're going to die and they won't even get the money it cost them to plant them back.
Yeah.
So the grants was to soften the blow on them lads, but I don't think it's anything to do with all the massive original ash on the roadside, which are highly dangerous. And after Storm Ophelia in 2007...
I don't think there is a grant yet.
I don't think there is, and I don't think there will be, because all the money's going to foreigners, as we know. Right.
Well, I on the grant thing, I remember watching... I think it was the Farmers Independent went out to a fellow who had an ash plantation, and he basically said it's a complete... It's the worst investment ever, because he's lost the land, for a start. The crop is gone. It's worth nothing. And now he's going to
pay someone to come in.
Yeah, and they're going to charge, because it's all dead wood, so it's twice as dangerous, you know?
Twice as dangerous, but I suppose, look, the plantation is a small timber, and you got to realise these timber harvesters cost an awful lot of money to run and pay for them, for just the running and the insurance of them. Like David Cuddy be the man to talk about this. Like, how that market is even viable with the machinery costs and insurance costs, I no longer know.
Yeah.
Because them lads give 14, 15 hours in a day in a wood all day, every day, to try and make it viable by tonnage. Now, how you can make it viable by tonnage when they're telling you your product can't even be put to firewood, has to be mulched as well.
Yeah.
This is the reality of the dieback problem. But then you have the Sitka spruce, another invasive species to Ireland.
Yeah, there's meant to be a weevil going around that now.
There is meant to be a weevil going around that. And as well as that, in all these big storms, they wind blow, and I have the windblowing ticket as well. It's the most dangerous timber of all.
Yeah.
It knits across itself like spider webs, and a harvester can't deal with it. And harvester drivers hate it.
Yeah.
So they need sawmen in working underneath the timber and working with the machinery to cut it and take it down. So we've got a disease brought into the country by the government wiping out all the ash. The invasive species Sitka spruce blowing over and costing everyone money as well. Like, all these problems wouldn't be there if we haven't had corrupt governments all along, but now we have to pay for the mistakes that were made by them and follow all their stipulations for their problems.
Yeah.
It's actually so fucked up the way the whole thing has went on and is going on. It's like the Dutch elm disease as well. Like, they brought that to Ireland.
Well, you see, this is the trouble if you're bringing in you're bringing in seed from other countries, and that it does lead to problems. Talk me through. Let's say there's an ash tree by the road, one side by side. There's a fully healthy ash tree, and then there's an ash tree with the ash dieback. What's the extra problems that this ash dieback gives you as the chainsaw man?
Well, the ash dieback, it kind of makes the trees more brittle. The hinges don't hold, and say if it's a windy day and you're trying to knock it the way it's naturally falling and your hinge is right and thick and perfect, because the timber is more brittle, it'll just blow off the side if the wind hits you wrong. And as well as that, then you've got all the dead wood above your head, what we call widow makers. And just the vibrations of the saw going underneath, like you could get a branch down the head, and they call them a widow maker for a reason. Like they kill people. Like, and I suppose in the middle of the summer now, when the crowns should be, they should be full. You shouldn't be able to see through the crown of a tree in the middle of the summer. But what I've noticed down our way, and I suppose I haven't been up here that often. I was up here a couple of months ago, but the destruction of it up here is far worse. The amount of trees I see dead around here is just unbelievable. Crazy. And it's not that the people of Tipperary and the South and the Midlands haven't seen the devastation it can cause yet.
Yeah.
But the thing I'll say about that then is when you went back to, it was Storm Darwin in 2012 and Ophelia in 2017. And the insurance companies took such a hit in Darwin and in Ophelia that it's no longer an act of God if your tree falls on a public road or if it falls on your property. It's now you knew it could fall on the road, or you knew it could fall on your property. So if it now falls on your property and knocks it, or if it now falls out in a public road and kills someone, you were now liable because you knew about it.
Well, that's where me and the neighbour here have been trying our best to, you know that yourself,
Yeah, keep people safe. Like,
well, to remove the ones out at the road, I know, you know. But God above, I do look around and, you know, there's trees literally hanging over the road, and the owners, I don't think they know that they're going to be followed. Do you know?
Well, this is just it. Like, look, I suppose this storm that has just happened in the West is going to teach an awful lot of people that when you're in trouble and when you're stuck, they're not coming to save you.
No, not.
They don't give one damn about anyone up here in the West. And it's going to be the same time now, at the same thing now, when another big storm hits one of these red warnings, because the companies that cut them and everything aren't covered under red warnings. They can't go out in the storm, number one. But there is silly people. Sorry, now I'm back from the mic.
No worry about it.
I'm not used to mics, and believe it or not, I don't like social media or YouTube or any of the rest. The danger is there, James. The diseases are in.
Yeah.
And they will not even put emergency plans in place to protect the communities. Like they say, a red warning, stay in out of the storm, but there's still people that have to go out in them storms. And even after the storms, they're not covered because, like, you knew the timber could fall out. You knew it could destroy your building.
What signs, let's say there's a farmer listening this evening, and he says, I have a couple of trees by the road. What should he be looking for that, listen, that's an unhealthy tree? Well,
in the wintertime, he won't be able to tell at all, bar it's covered in warts. And there's lots of these ashes now are covered in warts everywhere that you just couldn't mistake them. It's a clear sign that the tree is unhealthy, even when there's no leaves on them or even when there's ivy on them. You can see out in the branches, they get like big calluses and warts. Like, it sticks out like a sore thumb even in the winter. But for the people that still think that they have healthy trees in the middle of the summer, you can see straight through the crowns of them, and above the crowns, it's what's called stagging. You can see like antlers above the healthy green leaves.
Okay.
And that doesn't matter whether it's an ash or a beech or an oak. If you can see stagging, your tree is on the way out. It's dying, because beech has 2 different diseases as well that kills it off. The oaks, I don't know what disease kills them, to be honest, because oak is as Irish as anything. So is ash.
So the very top branches,
if
they are not covered in the leaves, that's a sign of bad health or that.
Bad health. And if you can see straight through the crown in the middle of the summer, like if there's all big gaps everywhere, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Like, look, they say there's 1,000 species of ash in the world, in Ireland especially. Like, there's 1,000 different species of that, and it's going to wipe out 95% of them. So that's 950 different species of the one tree. that's going to get wiped out by this disease, and they're trying to say that some of them are rejuvenating. They're not. It's not going to happen.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I have a few myself. Now, some of them are fucked, but some of them actually seem last summer to be coming back.
Yeah.
So you don't think, you reckon it's...
Look, I think what I've seen myself from my own personal experience is lots of them throw out all these fresh suckers on the big limbs because they're suffering, and
That's the fight for life.
yeah, a fight for life, and that's sad. Like it is, it's amazing to see that these trees are trying to fight back, but any ones that I've seen, like it's a dying cause, like with the Dutch elm disease, like.
And you hear putting washing up liquid and silly shit like this. This is silly shit, is it? Like
Silly shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, you know, if you have a big tree close to the house and you think it has ash dieback, I'd be more inclined to cut it down than to be putting washing up liquid on it. You know, I'd be getting rid of the problem close to the house or that. Shane,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
No bothers.
It's
and
been a pleasure, and we will have Shane back for a full podcast. So I will.
aye, hopefully anyway. And
I'm going to fill him with whiskey and see how it goes.
Jane is thinking that better be a fucking promise.
there's no filter between my brain and my mouth as it is, but
Well, I like that.
I am kind of exhausted. It's been an exciting few days, but you have to help good people out, and that's what bringing communities back together is all about.
Yeah.
And we might do a podcast another time on Shinnadena.
Yeah.
And that idea and giving people a voice when lots of people in Ireland don't feel like they can speak at all for fear of being labelled anymore. But you know what that website's all about, and that's where everyone can get their information from if they need it.
Yeah.
And exciting and scary times in Ireland at the same time, but I'll talk to you later, and I'll bring my saw away out of the way there, all right?
No, fire it up before you go.
Fire it up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be
We
loud.
want this for a clip, so we
Wait
do.
till I get a better shot.
Go out to this.
Yeah, and talk us through it, like
Through it.
Starting
It's a
process.
still, right? It's a still, so it's choke back to the last, break on for a choke back. I'll take it off for a half choke. First kick on your still anyway. I would cut the table in half, but that wouldn't be designed.
we'll keep that for another podcast.
If the next one doesn't go well, we'll have that. So
They're about the best, and still have 2 sets of oil rings, and that's why they outlast all the rest. And Husqvarna are a great saw, but they were bought out by Electrolux, so I won't be promoting any of their products, you know.
yeah. Well, Shane, what's it called? What we'll do is we'll get you outside one day and we'll do a demonstration of cutting timber and that. How are you fixed for that, Darren?
Absolutely, yeah. And and if you're looking for a forest, wind-blown forest to do any demonstrations, give me a shout. 'Cause-
You have a wind-blown forest, yeah.
or trees hanging over a road, I'll sort you out. I'll help you out there. We'll
We'll teach people how to get it down safely, but I think the best thing you can do is get someone who knows what they're doing and isn't going to rip you off.
That's it.
yeah.
Shane, thank you very much.
James, we will talk to you again, all right, Mark?
Thank
Good
you, Shane.
stuff.
Well, that's the first guest in the Rambling House this evening.
Absolutely.
What a man. The smell of two-stroke in the air. Any other questions,
I tell you,
Darren?
very clean as well, like no smoke, no nothing like that.
no.
Yeah.
Jeez, he looks after us all.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, you know.
The edges, though, that he has on them, he says that to him, will you bring the file with you? Because Christ, he's good at edging. He is.
Yeah,
very
well, the
good.
file is important, and it's important to have the right size file for your chain as well. I've seen guys using these kind of, machines, kind of like nearly like angle grinders and stuff, and I've been told they're not mighty things to be using.
I have one of them in the shed. It's a dropper.
Yeah.
I never liked it.
No, I used to, before I knew how to do it myself, I used to actually get a mate of mine to do mine with his like that. But no, I'm glad now I just learned. It's only a matter of learning how to do it.
There's a lad up the road there, and I'm going to try it. He actually put a round file into the drill, and he does it with the drill. I'm going to try it,
But
because he swears by it.
It doesn't take much. Like, I mean, 2 or 3 rubs.
Yeah, well, I used his saw now, and I have to say there was a good edge on it.
Okay.
So I'm going to try it.
See how
it goes. What's up next, Mr. Darren?
So that was Kalishi. Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Why are we wasting good farmland for solar farms and not using the bogs and unproductive land? Can we do anything to prevent this? Well,
I don't know.
I think money talks, and I think if you were to imagine what it takes to mind a herd of cattle for a winter and what it takes to mind a few solar panels.
Well, I think what he's on about with the good land and why don't we use the unproductive land and that, usually you'll find the unproductive land is where the sun doesn't make an appearance too often.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
I don't think Sligo is going to be pickled with solar farms anytime soon. He's probably talking about seeing the best of farms below in the Midlands and the sunny southeast.
Yeah.
And it is true, but as you said, you know, you put up the solar farm, the solar crowd maintains it, they give you rental every year.
Absolutely, yeah. You're still entitled to all grants.
Money
and
talks,
this and
that's
yeah.
it. I don't like seeing it myself, but
No, and I won't lie, I looked at it at one point because I wouldn't have the best of ground myself, and I thought...
Well, that's my only thing is, you know, down here, is it productive enough for some solar crowd to say, yeah, that's where I'm sticking at?
See, down here we have all the lines and everything. It wouldn't take that much for them, you know.
No, but it's the sun.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, that's true. But a lot of them don't need direct sun now, as yet. Well, you know, the PV and stuff is
Might need it, but I'd imagine they desire it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
If I was
like
if I was a solar cartel man, I think I'd be looking at places like the Sahara and that.
What do you think so? Yeah.
I reckon it's lethal on birds.
The solar panels.
Yeah.
Oh, go away.
The reflection really fucked
Oh,
up
maybe.
birds. Yeah.
No, I've seen places as well, and they have them, and they actually have stock in and around them as well.
Eating under them. Yeah, I seen that in England. All right, there's a massive one for do you know the windmills and the birds? I only found this out. You know how they kill all these birds? I thought it was the birds getting hit by the things.
So did I, to be honest.
Well, I've been told no, they're basically disemboweled by the suction that's created.
Oh,
That the bird is flying along, and then the next thing his guts is pulled straight out of his air.
so it's that strong of a...
Apparently so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Green.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah. Green.
Let me see what else we have. This is from Peter as well.
Come on, Peter.
So water waste treatment plants are doing more pollution in rivers than the farmers, yet we are the easy targets, he's saying. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Look, the nitrates is going to be a problem. Whether we like it or not, they're all giving out about water. What's this? Ha ha!
Happy
birthday
Oh, me! Oh, fuck, it's me!
Happy birthday, dear Darren. Happy birthday to you. Put the camera on yourself now. You got a cake.
I thought you knew me. Wait till I see. I have this in manual focus.
Hello, baby.
I got a can and a fucking cake. Well, sure, what more can you ask for, I suppose?
Sit down, wife. Come on up. Calm down, baby. Hello, wife.
I don't like this.
All right.
No, I don't think so.
Geez, you look well on the camera anyway.
That's the truth. She always looks well.
Yeah, she does. All the right words.
Did Shane land into you?
Being landed in.
That's good. He's minding the kiddies.
That's right.
How do you feel about this birthday model? Darren?
Me? Well, I'm going to make a wish.
That's it. Wish away.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Darren. It's
thank
your
you very
12th
much.
age.
Did you wish for a better working environment?
I did, yeah. I wished for a fucking high stool, man. This gas bottle is sore on the cheeks after a few days, you know. Anyone out there?
Sure, there's plenty of chairs down there. It's himself.
It is, it's myself. I stand a lot of the time. Again, for the cake, really appreciate it. and the good
Happy
wishes.
birthday, Darren.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
a good man. Darren, before we go to the
we'll get
question,
back to the questions.
No,
will
no,
we?
I want-
Will we not?
tell people about the stone. Because I reckon there'd be a rake of people interested in that. What have you been doing the last couple of
You
weeks?
don't, do you?
Yeah.
I thought we were on farming, man.
But I'll tell you, I have a similar habit.
Okay,
And I've been doing it the last 2 years.
right.
And it's been good.
Yeah,
been really good.
Yeah. Okay, well, like I have, I think, mentioned it on the podcast. I'm not sure if it's published yet or not, but or who it was even with. But I've been
wasn't
doing
me.
this
What have
thing
you
with
been
gratitude.
moonlighting?
I've been doing this thing with gratitude. Got a book, and part of the thing in the book is to have a stone and carry it with you and literally just give gratitude. So if you have a minute to yourself, you give gratitude for anything you want, anything that you are genuinely grateful for, and just say thank you, thank you, thank you. So I've been doing that, and I have been getting results as such in lots of little ways and big ways and that kind of thing. So I'm just trying to think of the fucking name of the book.
It's not the secret, is it?
It's something like that. Yeah, the magic, and there is this whole 28-day thing that you can follow through, or you can jump straight through to a chapter, be it wealth or health or relationships and that kind of stuff. So look, I don't know. I'm just saying this is what I'm doing, and that's my stone. What are you doing?
Well, it's called manifestation.
Okay.
So one of the things you do is really, really visualize what you want.
Yeah.
And if you really, really do that,
Yeah.
it seems to happen.
Well, it can. And I've been absolutely kind of doing that myself for a while. Like if you actually think about it, like manifestation isn't always instant either.
No.
Okay, so like let's take this podcast for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It didn't come out of nowhere, So you came to me, but in fact, I've been, and herself would tell you, I've been preparing for something like this for about 4 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could argue it's been manifested,
Yeah.
or you could argue that I had some insight that this was going to happen
Yeah.
3-4 years ago. So whatever way you want to look at it, did you, out of curiosity, did you have anything like that before that? You see, you're saying that you were originally kind of...
I had thought about it. Yeah, I had thought about it
Yeah.
a long time, but it wasn't until I done the one with David Cuddy that I realised, actually, no, this is somewhat achievable.
Yeah.
But I am so
Or
fucking...
it was the spark, but the
I-
fumes were there.
Yeah, I think it kind of showed me how technically illiterate I am.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then I just approached yourself, and it was brilliant that you were on board, because
Yeah.
then you can do it.
Oh, as
Do
soon
you
as
know?
you said it, I said, this is the moment.
Cool.
Yeah. So I do believe in manifestation, and I do believe in, again, I suppose we're going to higher powers and all of that kind of stuff. But look, gratitude. It's the new thing for me for 2025. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So be thankful and visualize.
And genuine, though.
Yeah.
Genuine.
Genuinely thankful.
And it doesn't have to be, it can be thankful for anything,
Well, thankful
Yeah.
for your fucking legs that you can see. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
I've said this
Absolutely.
to so many people who've been really depressed over the years. Is and it's, if you get into a dark place, it is horrible.
Yeah.
But you can take a step back and say, "Well, I'm not blind.
Yeah.
and I can speak.
Yeah.
and there's so
Absolutely.
much for us to be thankful for.
Absolutely.
Let's get back to the
We
questions.
will, indeed. So, the price of rented land. Oh, hang on, there's one before that. So, how do we dispose of the waste from solar panels and turbines, plus the difference between turbines and windmills? Exclamation mark.
I'm going to be totally honest. You are totally out of my area expertise there. I don't think you can dispose the wings of the turbines.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't-
my understanding.
I don't
of
think
it.
you can.
As far as I know, they have to
Landfill, I believe.
landfill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I am sure there's a upcycling possibility with them.
You'd make a great pig shelter out of it.
Well, this is it. Honest to fuck. You know, like I'll put it this way: if someone landed a few turbines
Oh,
at my door,
we'd figure it out.
I'd fucking fathom something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Moving them would be a bit of a
Yeah,
bitch, though.
yeah. But look, when there's a will, there's a way, and if they're in the way, I'll fucking move them.
That
You
was
know.
Granddad's one. Where there's a will, there's a relative.
Yeah, or where there's a will, there's a wealthy farmer. You know. So that's that one. Yeah.
Look at. We're not even going to pretend. I don't think
we don't have all of the answers to this shit. But
well,
like,
thanks for the question.
Yeah, no,
fair play to you.
and look, I mean, if
We should have done what a politician does and pretended that we knew and kind of
yeah. Rural speed limits.
Oh yeah. They're after reducing all of them by 20k.
Yeah,
As far as I know.
yeah.
How they're going to police it, I don't know.
I personally feel, how are they going to police it? I feel that actually cars are going to start policing it themselves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, down the road, they won't bring that in too quick. But certainly, I feel like, you know, I mean, your insurance company will be notified.
That.
Look who it is.
Mikey, how you doing? Go
What
in.
is the crack?
How did the plastering go, Mikey? That's good. Stick that microphone right up to you there.
The mist held off.
Straight into the hot seat.
That's the style. This is Mikey from Cork, everyone. Michael has been with us. How many days are you here now?
About 10 days, I'd say. 8 to 10
That's
days.
the style of it.
8 days.
Mikey came up along with Shane to help out in the west of Ireland, old people and disabled people and everything. But the organisation on getting them to every place was a little bit poor. So they've been here with me a day or two helping me around the farm, which is brilliant because we have a community project on the farm and he's been brilliant. You were plastering in the dark, Michael, a good way to learn.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I drove up here, I saw your two Michaels
That's right. Yeah.
in the dark, arse up in the air at a fucking wall, and I thought, oh, fair fucks to them.
You got it done.
It was great crack doing out there.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Tell everyone you're from Cork City.
I'm from Cork City, yeah.
So were you always in Cork City or?
Yeah, I did about a year and a half in Cork City. I'd say about 8 years now in the city.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of county foresting. And before that, then it was all construction. Always had 20, 40, 60, 70, I think 67 lads was the most lads I got to at one stage.
Working for you?
Since the age of 18, I had 3 businesses at the age of 17. I had 4 jobs at the age of 15 in one day. I was always like that.
Well, you were a more interesting man than I thought.
Fucking hell.
You know,
You had
yeah.
3 businesses at the age of 17.
Yeah, and flat out like. I had a truck, I had a van. I had a truck, I had 2 vans. I had a nice truck actually. And 7 lads, and geez, we were flat out. It was just always the way, like.
What, like 80s, 90s, is it?
This
Or
would have been 90s, I'd say 90s, yeah, 95-ish. And,
Yeah.
it was great, like, you know, I grew up working, like.
you had no fear of starting businesses?
Not
or-
a bit. I grew up working, like, you just, you know, at the age of 11, I remember, it's one of my earliest memories, good memory, and I was working in, just doing a bit of forestry, just down in Blarney Castle and that. And the father said we were cutting trees for the winter. It was how you grew up, like. And, going across the river, like, with a rope and just bringing logs across. That was, you know, that was normal. And he was going, geez, he you know, you get used to it, like.
Yeah.
And loved then going off outside of blocks, bumping into patio windows, you know, as you do, like. But great crack, like. It was always up and going, and, you know, you'd always have other lads then that would say, geez, do you want a hand? And you go, right, we'll get him to do, you know what, you know. That's how it works, like.
Well, I've heard you a couple of times before. You do be on the, what's it called? Twitter Spaces, Gavon's Twitter Spaces.
Or are you on there?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez,
I had heard him on.
I can't say I'm on that. I used to be a big fan of the Telegram.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Now you have to request to be a speaker.
I was saying that to a fella last night. I was like, it's like being in fucking school. You put
Yeah.
up your hand, you know, and at least with the Telegram, if you were on and I was listening to you, I had an opinion, I just click a fucking button and say it.
Yeah.
You know, this whole thing of putting up your hand, just kind of,
Yeah,
it's a bit off-putting, isn't it?
It's a little bit anal.
It is.
So it
It is. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm a fan of the Telegram, and the Owl X space it's pulled the crowd over there. So now the Telegram isn't as.
The only thing
You
about
know.
the X Spaces, though, there seems to be a gang of Americans making their way to it now.
Oh, they
And
were
I
on
had-
Telegram as well. So they were.
Were they?
Ah, they fucking were. Yeah.
I fucked the head of one of them on night. I told him he was a CIA agent.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was or not, but he seemed very, very annoyed that I said he was. You know,
Yeah.
Bang on the mark.
I think so.
Absolutely.
What's his name? Jeff. Fuck you, Jeff.
Remember anyway.
Oh, fucking.
Don't laugh with manners. I mean, you handed me
Oh,
my arse.
manners
the
out of that
you
night,
handed
like,
me
is
my
it?
arse the same night, and they goes, "Geez, that's so bad." I goes,
Did I fuck the head of you too? Did I?
By no means of, you know, I think it was just we didn't. You see, I think it's actually something that struck me inside. Is like the way I even said it to Mickey today. Like we were the plastered wall. We didn't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to pick up what he was saying. And next thing, I goes, just because we're from different counties, it's like we have different slang words
Yeah.
that mean something.
Well, Michael, and God bless him, I absolutely adore the man. But he makes no effort to be understood whatsoever. He has a really strong kind of rural Sligo accent. And because I've lived abroad and stuff like that, you kind of know if you're talking to someone different, you have to slow down, pronounce your words a little bit. Michael doesn't. He just says it as it is, and that's it.
It's like I didn't want him to slow down or pronounce the words because he was kind of teaching me how the culture here speaks like.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it was kind of like like he's a gas man, he'd be throwing you words. And next to you be getting serious about it, be tear off into a joke like.
Well,
it's brilliant like.
I seen him one day. It was fucking hilarious. There was an English girl in the house in there, do you know? And we were having chicken, and he goes, "Ha ha! The leg of a cock was always hard bet," and you're wanting to know what he was on about. In there having his bit of chicken. Darren, we'll have one more question, and then we'll get back to Mikey. We'll keep going over and back to Mikey.
Yeah, sure.
And thanks everyone. As I says, if you want to be on the WhatsApp group, on the Patreon, just
There's
message
a community
us.
section.
Yeah, and we'll get everything up and running, and then you can get these.
And any questions or anything, we
Yeah.
do have an email address, admin@jamesconwayexp.com.
That's the one.
So let me see. I didn't read through these myself yet. I suppose you could maybe look at the problem of a father-son building a prison around himself and how not being able to find anyone to employ now that the father is no longer fit, and why back just before the COVID hit, the government had their back turned on the suckler herd and ready to throw it away to save the dairy herd. Look at the price of suckler, that might be beef calf or bred calf, ready €5 a kilo plus and in serious demand.
Yeah.
So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, a little bit. I think with the whole prison metaphor, what he's saying is, and you know, it is a pertinent issue. You do get trapped. So there was a dad and a son working there together, and then dad is getting a bit older now, and you're probably in the situation where you need someone else, but the older person is still hanging on. And listen, how do you sort that? It's a personal situation, do you know? But I've seen it all over the country. It's, you know, you can wind up where an older person doesn't want to admit that they're physically not as fit as they were, do you know?
Yeah.
I work with my parents, you know, that here on the farm and the home farm. I'm really lucky that, you know, even in, you know, the age that they are, they're both physically fit. They can both still drive relatively safely. We set up the place that for labour, nothing is too difficult. You know, if we're doing a big number of sheep or that, we have the race, we have the turnover, and we kind of set ourselves up for that a little bit, you know. But I can totally appreciate that there is days where, you know, you have someone with you that mightn't be able to lift something or mightn't be able to do something, and you're thinking, if I was at this myself, I'd have it done quicker.
Right,
You
okay,
know,
yeah.
you do have those days, but then there's other days where they come out with a nugget of information that saves you hours. I've often had that with my dad, that you'd be working at something and then the next thing he'd just come down and say, this is how I do it, and then all of a sudden it's done pretty quickly.
Just another one, just while we are on this, and then we'll go back. A lot of farmers I speak to have a deep fear that leaving the EU would end for them. So I'd ask, is there a way out for farmers enticed into and entrapped by EU grants? Because personally, I'm not a farmer personally, but I do kind of look at it from a distance, and I always feel that the whole EU grants thing is a rug to be pulled, as I often talk about. So, thoughts on that?
Well, you see, if you become reliant on subsidies as the only profit that the farm is making, if the subsidy is no longer there, the farm is making nothing. And that's the trouble that a lot of people have found themselves in. And another thing is the banks giving out loans on farms that are just basically wiping their own face.
Yeah.
And then the subsidy is the profit.
That's it.
And they're giving the loan to that person on the back of the subsidy that can be pulled at any time.
And see, that's the whole thing. And like, it does put, like, you see, for me, like looking at that, whatever about, a business or whatever else. But I mean, we're talking about families. That's what freaks the fuck out of me. I look at farms around here, and I mean, they're all family fucking farms.
Yeah.
And heavily reliant on these checks coming from EU. And
Totally reliant.
Totally reliant. I mean, in fact, if they stopped tomorrow, they'd be in serious fucking shit. I mean, the farms would be gone.
Well, what happened in New Zealand? New Zealand was in the same situation. And then the subsidies went, and really what happened is...
So did that already happen over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the result being...
The good farmers got bigger and the poorer ones sold.
Sold, yeah. Just to clear debt.
Communities destroyed.
Yeah.
Rural communities destroyed. Because, we have a nice little thing around here. Average farm size here is about 70 or 80 acres. And as you says, it's all kind of family farms. Now, there's farms smaller than that, farms bigger, but they're kind of average. But you do have roads where there's a couple of farm families on it. What is the advantage of living in the countryside if you're not farming?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's quiet, it's peaceful, all the rest of it, but...
Well, I live in the countryside and I wouldn't consider myself a farmer.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get a little bit older in life, and I heard me dad saying it, he's starting to think, a move into town wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Do you know?
Yeah.
He's starting to think, if you had your little cottage, in one of these elder places, and you could go to the shop, you could poot around. My mum would never do that.
No.
But, I have a feeling, if one was gone and the other was still in it, I'd say, yeah, he probably would. Because, listen, you can poot around, you can go to the bookies, or,
Yeah. Oh, look, you can see the benefits. And Jesus Christ, even those days, I'd be looking at it and going...
Yeah.
so...
Well, Dad...
I could imagine... But, there's a man that's a lifetime on the farm, really, bar his few years in England.
Well, he was 16 years in England.
Yeah.
And you see, he had his own house in England, and he had a garden that was pristine. And as he said, and it is true, when you came home, work was over.
Right, yeah. Yeah. That's
so,
true. Yeah.
The difference with the farm is work's never over.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Oh, even I only have a few animals and that, but sure, I can find myself going into work, chasing myself back. I'll only have an hour to myself.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself getting out, feeding, putting them in, blah, 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 just to get back in time, I mean,
sure, every morning here, there's 40 minutes before you go to work at all. Or
absolutely.
Then,
yeah. So I do get it.
Oh, and on the beef thing, they were on about throwing the suckler herd under the bus. It wasn't only the government. The truth of the matter is the beef prices a couple of years ago were very poor, and it was pretty non-viable to be just beef. Now the prices are really good because global demand is very high and global supply is low. I would be saying to anyone who thinks this is going to last forever, there's a little thing called the Mercosur deal being signed and if global demand is high, they'll supply.
Okay.
You know, so just
I wouldn't be educated enough on it now. to
enjoy
even
the good
pass on it.
times. Don't think they'll last forever.
Yeah, and what's the advice? Like, I mean, there's lots of farmers out there, and I'd imagine, like, I'm looking at big tractors, big sheds, and I'm saying to myself, I doubt that's all paid for, you know, like...
No, sure, it's all on finance, a lot of it, so it is. But the truth of the matter is, if you could have a couple acres that you were growing your own food, that would be my advice
See,
to
this
you.
is what I like. Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I
yeah.
like hens, pigs.
Look, like myself,
Yeah.
I'd consider myself a homesteader. I have a few animals, but I wouldn't ever consider myself a farmer by any means. Do you know?
As I says, the type of kind of farming that I do, I wouldn't be an advisor for anyone who's doing industrial farming. Fair play to you. I hope it works for you. Do you know? I wish you all the best. I'm not going to give you advice. All I'm going to say is what we do here, which is freezer is full of your own stuff. You have your own vegetables for a good part of the year.
Yeah.
You can still work a couple of days in the week and earn a bit of a wage.
And this is the other side of it. Like, I mean, if I'm looking at a lot of these family farms, they're going to work in factories, and like they're out on tractors and quads at 9 o'clock at night. You know, so it's not like, you know, they're still reliant on a job. You know.
Well, you see, I like the farm to be nice lifestyle, if you get me.
Yeah.
Bring herself and the kids out, all the rest of it. If you're getting up, feeding, then going to work, then coming home and feeding and possibly calving again in the night, I'd be kind of saying that's not a nice lifestyle. That
This is
is
it.
serious
Yeah.
stress,
Yeah.
do you know? Whereas if you kind of go around in the evening and throw up any oats to 2 goats and then rub them on the head,
Yeah.
that's different, you know?
And I suppose if you have kids and a wife there as well, I mean, surely they're looking on going, poor old fucking dad, you know, is that something I want to do?
Yeah. And then if the kid doesn't like it,
Well, that's
you're
it
not
too.
getting much time with dad. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah.
Like, what's it called? My older ladding was big into it, and now he's not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
I
yeah.
says,
You
Animals
know,
still have
and
to be
maybe
fed,
even they'll be saying you'll be better off not doing what I'm doing at this stage. Do
oh,
you know?
that conversation's
know,
been
I
had.
bet.
That's why they're educating kids.
This is it. Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know how many times I've heard of someone saying, "Don't end up like this." Do you know? And that's sad. Like,
Yeah. Will we touch on one more question and then we might kick over to Michael for a few
yeah,
minutes?
exactly.
Yeah.
Go, man.
So I don't have it here in front of me, but I think the gist of it was the price of rental of land.
Oh,
So, like, I don't know. Again, I don't have an educated opinion on it, but like, I was always curious. So you could more or less rent an acre of land. I think a decent acre of land for a year for 100 quid. Was that it?
Oh,
Was that it?
one time.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
I see. This is what I used to be looking at. I used to be looking at lads, and I think that's what I remember going. So you can rent an acre for 100 quid, but if you want to buy it, you might spend 10 grand on it. So you'll be a long time paying
Yeah.
100 quid. You know, like, I mean, even if you had it for, you know, years. Yeah.
350 to 400 around here at the moment.
Is it? Yeah. Okay,
Look
so
at-
that's gone up a lot because, like, last time I looked at it was about 2015. So that's 10 years ago.
Depends on the quality.
It does, of course.
If you're near a dairyman and it's middling quality, you will pay for it.
Right.
So you will, because he can justify it. Even then on the, on the nitrates, you mightn't be familiar with this. You know, you have a,
I'm not,
a
like-
nitrates allowance, so he can rent the land and it adds to the amount of nitrates he can spread. And
Again, this is all down to grants, is it? And this and that.
Oh,
or-
there's limitations. You know, if you have so many head of cattle, you'll have an allowance of how much
Who gives the allowance?
the department.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, department on behalf of the EU, I suppose.
Right.
You know. So,
Yeah, no, I always thought it was just for literally silage. A lot of the farms, I see people renting out ground and, like, it's literally just cut for...
silage.
For silage,
Aye, well, you
and-
can rent it for silage. You can rent it for grazing as well.
Yeah.
But if you take out a good lease, like, you'd be able to write it down against your
Okay.
nitrates and that. Yeah.
So I guess what he's asking is the price obviously is going up to rent land.
It's one of those. Listen,
What isn't going up?
well, strangely enough, at the time of the famine, an acre of land in Ireland was the most expensive in Europe.
No way.
Yeah, what's it called? The land was so scarce in comparison to the population that it was the most expensive land to rent in Europe.
That's an
there was
interesting
such,
fact.
There was such a tie to land as well.
But this is it. There was there was always a real. You mean like, it's mine
the
kind of
game thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
check that historically.
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
actually cheaper to rent an acre of land in England or France or Germany at the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
That's another aspect that kind of added to the amount of evictions, and that was that the
Well, I suppose as well that then, like, if you think about it, a lot of land by then, that stage was owned by huge acreage by landlords and stuff. So, I mean, there wasn't that much land available for people to purchase, and then the ability to purchase. And
I believe at the time you could. I don't think you could have a horse worth more than £5.
right.
Yeah, there was a law the English had in that time. You couldn't have a horse worth more than £5, so that confined you to a workhorse or a pony.
Okay.
So you wound up in a situation where, now Irish racing is, renowned worldwide. Well, at that time, you could have an Irishman to ride the horse and train the horse. Were you going to own the horse?
Right.
So that was a bit of a... You had the landed gentry who had the best of jockeys, the best of trainers, and they were allowed to do those jobs. And, they were relatively well looked after for doing them jobs.
Yeah.
But by law, they couldn't own the horse.
Right.
So it was just keeping Paddy under the thumb for another while.
Well, look, thanks everyone for your questions. We probably didn't get through them all.
Let's get back to Michael here.
Let's get back to Michael.
The go-getter. The go
What about you? Did you ever own a horse more than a fiver?
Indeed.
You did. Well, there we go.
I was down in Kerry for a while and had a horse there for a while, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was like something out of an advertisement for Guinness. The horse pulled up in the trailer and couldn't take the horse out of the trailer.
Right.
So I had to go out in the middle of the night and it was freezing. And there were stars and there was no one around. It was like midnight silence, like, and it was just, and all you could hear was the horse inside the thing. And it was like a full proper cart horse, like. And I just, now taking I don't know, I just did it naturally. It came to me how to get him to calm inside in the box and everything. There was no one else there, like.
Yeah.
It was just me and that horse.
Yeah.
And then bringing the horse out of the back of the box.
Yeah.
And just leaving him do his own thing. And, I don't know, I got into this thing where just cleaning off his back. It's all knotted up, like.
Absolutely, yeah.
And geez, it had been polished within a month. And I understood it then, but there was no teaching.
Isn't it amazing? The connection you can have with a horse, I love it. There wasn't like we only have one horse now, but I mean,
Tiernan and Og.
Tiernan and Og, yeah.
Lovely
A
animal.
feisty buck, like, and a real
Lovely animal.
personality, and I mean, the connection, I watch him with the donkey now, and he doesn't need to even look at the fucking donkey, but the donkey knows,
Who's boss?
who's boss. Yeah.
That's Fred.
That's Fred. You're sure, like,
Fred is the father of my
me and
child.
James has a
donkey.
complicated relationship here, like.
Yeah, he's one of those, he fucked her and then he fucked off. So he did. He hasn't came to see the child. He doesn't pay maintenance. Fred, I have words with Fred every time I go down.
You know the character.
You black bastard.
I know the character, I have great time for Fred. I like Fred.
He's very friendly.
He is.
For a
Yeah,
jack,
he is, and
like.
he isn't. Like, I mean, like, Jesus, there's times there now, and he has a great aim.
Would he
Like,
kick?
Oh yeah, well, like, but in a night, like, he'd kick the bucket out of your hand, but he'd have a great aim that he could. Now, not always, but I mean, if he was pissed off with you, like,
Yes.
another thing is, like, the horse. Someone said to me once, a horse actually can instantly forgive, and that's true. But Fred would remember.
Well, you see, this is it. You're on Michael there all the time. The poor old people.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's talking now.
My granddad
Not a
always
good
says
multitasker.
that a donkey was cleverer than a horse. They weren't thick.
No.
They just wouldn't do something that was stupid. So he says, you could bring a horse to, the bog and load it, and it'd try its best to pull it. Whereas the donkey, when you had it loaded, would leave.
Yeah.
And would say, that's quite enough now.
Yeah,
Do you know?
yeah.
And people mistook that for being thick. Thick is an
Yeah.
But the truth
He's
is,
like, I'm not going fucking killing myself. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And then the other side of it too is when he has enough work done, he just stops.
Yeah.
He's just like, that's enough now.
Yeah.
Whereas the poor old horse will put themselves, out terribly. Yeah. I like donkey side though.
I was trying to get to the stage, right, where I was just getting that scent of earth and a horse in front of me.
Yeah.
And all the absolute daftness, as we're experiencing now, like.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get to that stage where I could get that scent of earth and a horse in front of me, and after that I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You can only see so far ahead in life in the world we live in, like.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I would, it's what's missing. Like, there's no, and like.
Well, there's no connection to the earth anymore. So
there is no life in the cities. There is nothing.
Yeah.
You look at it again, you get up and you look at the same thing, you'll do the same things, you'll go to the same places. There's no life.
Yeah.
And I certainly know, like, feeling, when you go out into the county, you're just free. Jeez, the minute you hop over a ditch and you're going for a walk even, and there's no one telling you that you can't go this way or this way. You say, right, I'll go up that way.
Yeah. Have you enjoyed the last couple of days?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think
We've been cutting timber at sheep, feeding sheep. What else have we been doing, Michael? Plastering, block laying. Yeah. You like it, getting back to it again.
Farmer, yeah. And I suppose if there's one thing, if I never saw you again after this one, I'll say, that man can play cards, boy.
Yeah. I came, look, I got good.
25 draw.
But
I got good cards. So it's easy play them when you get good ones. So
it's just the way that, just from yourself saying hello to the work lads in the pub.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just, I suppose you recognise a good man by what he creates. And when you walked into the pub the first night, we were sitting down having a chat, you were welcoming and all that, and absolutely lovely people. And next thing, geez, the boys were after, I said, geez, you know them lads, and I didn't think anything of it having the pint. And, we go out and have a cigarette, come back, and you were great crack with the lads. But I didn't know that they were for just lads from up the country that you never met before. Like.
Oh, I never met them, no. Yeah. No.
And by
I knew by how the rest were doing a bit for the day, so I'd say hello to them,
But by the end of the night, like, you just goes, throw us out a packet of cards there. And my God, I'd say if that pub ever roared as much. from six work lads in the corner, like, 7 work lads sitting down just playing with a deck of cards. That came from yourself going, right, look, that was your own initiative, like, your spark of life, like.
Yeah.
And it's just natural that you go up. I wouldn't go up to lads in the pub and say, well, I suppose I would, but I wouldn't be kind of, there's no way you'd be lifting the table off the floor over cards at the end of the night.
We were enjoying it, though.
So I'll always remember that. Like.
One man threw a thump on the table and
that's right.
knocked drink every place. But I think the publican looked at him and went, let him off. He's a very big lad. We'll let him off there. And it was totally, he didn't mean any harm by it at all. But I just thought, because it was awful funny, because whilst we were playing cards in the corner, the local ladies community group were painting on one side of the place and crocheting on the other.
Excellent.
And we were playing cards in the middle of these gang of poor old women that probably wanted a quiet night.
Where was this? Down in the
horse, yeah.
Oh, in the horse. Yeah.
That
Great.
was good.
Yeah.
That's the lad that cuts the timber that I came up the country with. He's a big lad.
Oh, he's a big gent. So actually was on the beginning of this with this all. You seen him? He's a big boy, so he's a big boy. On that note,
Good stuff.
and Michael has been a massive help this week. And thanks to Michael for being so genuine that when there was trouble after the storm, he made his way all the way from Cork up here and has been a massive help to the community. So,
Yeah, fair play.
And we might hopefully see you again.
oh, not a problem at all.
You're
Thank you very much,
you're not
Michael.
off now.
I think we'll go to the horse again. So,
Well, it sounds like I missed something. We might see. Can we?
oh, you will. You're
Yeah.
entitled to a
Well, I
birthday
am.
treat,
It's
so
my
yeah.
birthday. God above, yes. Good stuff. All right, guys.
Thanks to everyone for supporting the channel. And as I says, this evening was just a bit of fun. We did have just a late cancellation, and we says we'd do something.
We weren't going to miss the opportunity anyway.
No. As
We
I
had all
says,
set up, and
one of the things there is, Darren lives a little bit away from here, and we had cameras and mics and all set up. So,
Yeah.
thanks for supporting the channel, and God bless you all.
till next time.